Moving on to strategic and proactive level of HRM. HRM was always viewed as a reactive approach. Now, in this modern age, HRM should reach the level of strategic and proactive teams. So HR have started functioning as strategists. They participate in the setting of business strategies and in designing the overall objectives of the organization. In that way, they are acting as strategists. Business partners, they have started responding to business challenges, the crisis in day-to-day operations, by supporting business in actual terms in identifying the resources which will propel the business forward. They started acting as internal management consultants. Since the development of professional HR managers, businesses have started using these HR professional managers inside the organizations to advise on various strategies, say when it comes to the impact of legislations or the impact of health and safety measures or immigration policies. So these are playing a significant role in the development of HR as internal management consultants. Now, shared responsibility of HRM. This is an eternal question of who should be controlling the HR sphere of HR activities, who has to take the key decisions. Now, be it a large organization or a small organization, the decision should be taken at the right time. Centralization and decentralization is about who is taking these decisions. So when it comes to centralization, what are the things that may be decided at the topmost level as one single unified body to be spread across the whole organization? Strategic issues which impacts the overall existence of the organization, organization-wide communication. So this needs to be in the hands of one particular team. Then moving on to specialist services and auditing, this also should be in the hands of a single team, centralized, so that there is a uniform approach throughout the organization and to avoid any confusion in the approaches. When it comes to decentralization, HR teams across the organization should have enough power to take day-to-day decisions so that they don't hit a rock bottom in terms of employee morale, just to wait for decisions to flow from the topmost body of the organization. So they should have enough power in their hands to execute simple day-to-day operations, in which way there is no blockage in your administrative aspects. Now, a shared services approach is a modern concept in which the support activities in an organization is in fact outsourced to a team within an organization to perform in a systematic way, so that you as an organization will have more time to perform your core activities, what we call SSU for internal customers. Now, what are the advantages of SSU? Since SSUs are a dedicated body for performing these services, you have consistency in applying these practices across the organization. There is uniformity and your customers are satisfied. There is no difference when it's applied in unit A and when it is applied in unit B. So the practices are uniform because it is done by one centralized organization within your entity. Strengthening of core competencies. As I mentioned earlier, SSU does what it knows best, and the core teams, the business teams, do what they know best. So there is complete demarcation and they know what needs to be done. Significant cost savings. Since there is a unified approach, there is no duplication of effort and things are smooth, you have significant cost savings. Now, what are the tasks which can be outsourced and which are being outsourced in the current scenario? Training and development, recruitment, health and safety, employee welfare, payroll, and legal advice on compliance. These are the areas which are being increasingly viewed as activities which can be done by specialists outside your organization, or people inside the organization can have minimum interaction with the outside team so that this rolls in a smooth way. Moving on, what are the advantages of outsourcing? As is the case with any activity which is outsourced, time is saved. So, and obviously HR costs are reduced. The need for in-house teams is reduced because the job is performed by external consultants or external organizations. Now, more time to focus on core activities. Business has more time to focus on core activities, and the existing HR teams can support business in their core activities rather than spending their valuable time on fringe activities. When you're giving the job to external people, you obviously rope in specialist knowledge and expertise. They are up to date because it is their survival in question. They are giving their services to multiple organizations, so they have to be up to date, and what you in turn get is a specialist knowledge in terms of the approaches. Now, external specialists, as I mentioned earlier, need to be up to date. So as a result, you as an organization, as a customer, will get state-of-the-art infrastructure. The developments may be websites which they are using to enhance the services. The obvious benefit is for the organization because it passes on as a benefit. The objectivity of external service providers is something which is completely different from an in-house HR team, because as an organization, the service provider is completely objective in its approach. That is a major advantage. Now, what are the disadvantages of outsourcing? Managing these consultants and outsourced activity providers is in itself a huge task. Reviewing the contracts and assessing the service levels, that becomes a time-consuming affair. Lack of understanding and flexibility. As is the case with any other service provider, the outsourcing guys do not have an understanding, they do not have a feel of the culture of the organization. So there is a lack of understanding and flexibility. They operate in their own terms, so to say. So without the understanding of the culture and the pressure on the organization and the deadlines. Short-term cost saving. Critics of outsourcing say that it is in fact short-term cost saving and it is not in line with your long-term goals and visions of the organization. So the measures that we undertake today by outsourcing the activities is in fact the short-term ones because it is not in line with your long-range objectives. Now, horizontal integration consistency may be lost. As we saw earlier, horizontal fit between the various policies and the business objectives is very important. Sometimes this might be lost when you have external people who are rank outsiders and without any understanding of the operational principles of an organization. They are providing service. So this might seem to be lost in this whole activity. Moving on. Evaluating the HR outcomes. Now, HR as such has always been a support function, most of the times qualitative output. So how do you really measure HR outcomes? What is the problem of evaluation? How do you really measure the HR outcomes when it comes to job satisfaction, commitment? These are qualitative aspects, and how HR is supposed to measure this. Cost benefit analysis. So what is the cost involved in the HR efforts and what is the benefit that the organization reaps out of the HR efforts? Quantitative and qualitative measures. When I mention quantitative, what HR can measure is your absenteeism, your health records, number of days lost in an accident, or it might be productivity levels. There are few areas which can be measured quantitatively. When it comes to qualitative measures, like say job satisfaction or commitment or employee morale, it is really difficult to measure these qualitative aspects. Now, the 4 C's proposed by the Harvard Business School, in which HR activities should be measured, are commitment. What is the commitment level of the employees towards the organization? Competence. What is the existing skill level of your workforce and what is the gap between the desired and the existing level? HRM activities should focus on bridging this gap, and this should be evaluated. Congruence. What is the level of alignment of the business objectives and employees' motivation and their desires? So what is the level of congruence? Cost effectiveness. how all these aspects are achieved with the minimum possible cost and what is the effectiveness of all these efforts. So this is a model proposed by Harvard Business School.